2 Corinthians chapter 12, and we shall look at verse 7. Unless I should be exhausted above measure through the abundance of the revelation, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exhausted. For this one thing I besought the Lord thrice, that he might depart it from me. He said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. We're going to talk this morning. Thank you so much. You may take your seats. I'm going to talk about standing with a thorn in your flesh. Standing with a thorn in your flesh. What a word the Lord has given me for you today. During this pandemic, during these tragedies, during these times when people want to give up, when people are confused. And I want to continue on to tell you, as I've been preaching for you for several weeks on the Standing series, that no matter what is happening, you got to stand during these times. Standing is about courage. Standing is about conviction. Standing is about what you know, not what you heard. You can't stand unless you know certain things. You can't stand unless you feel this. You can't stand unless you have courage. And I want to continuously telling a lot of you, you can't stand if you can't stand things. And continually telling you that to be a Christian is not about how many demons you can run away. It's about how many demons you can take on. It's about how many demons you can face and stand up to. Because Jesus defeated the devil himself. Not because he ran from him. When the devil came to him, Jesus didn't run. He didn't take off, oh, I rebuke you, I'll show my ta-ta. And run off, I put the devil on the flight. No, sometimes you need to tell the devil, come on with it. Come on with it. Throw at me your best points. Throw at me your best weapon, because I'm ready for you. And the only way you can really stand as a Christian is that you got to first learn how to stand up to the devil. And I'll talk a little more about that next week, because too many Christians trying to run from the devil instead of standing up to face him, because there come a time in life you can't run. You can run but can't hide and can't get away. You have to stand up. That was Jonah's problem. He tried to run from God because he didn't want to stand up and face the Ninevites, his own enemies. And he felt that that wasn't for him. But God took a well and sent him on there anyhow to teach him, look, you can't run from people that are dangerous. Stand up and face them. And I keep trying to emphasize this message to all of us out here today. Sometimes it's not about trying to avoid pain and avoid things that's happening in the world. We got to learn, get some teaching on how to take it, how to stand up against it. And once the enemy see you can stand up and face him, he knows you're not a coward. We have too many coward Christians trying to run from evil, trying to run from trouble, taking everything they can to get away from pain and trouble. All these good luck charms. Somebody got walking around with a dead rabbit foot. Now, how in the world some animal dead going to bring you luck? Man, people got good luck charms, saying this going to bring me good luck and still having bad luck. You can't run from good luck charms and all these things you're talking about going to bring you good luck. It's not about luck anyway. It's about God's blessing. I want to teach you today in this message about the thorn. That's something we have to live with. Paul, who had had a lot of problem with the Corinthian church, is now, he's facing them. He had more trouble at that church than any church I know he had. And they were challenging him and talking about so many things. I don't have time to go into all of that. But he decided to tell them, you know, I got caught up with describing another man as though it was not he. It was a man. I don't know who he was. It was like he was describing another man when he's talking about himself. He said, but one thing I know, I was caught up in the third heavens. And when I got up there, I saw things. I never heard of things I could never say. But I know the minute I came down, a thorn was given to me. A thorn was given to me in my flesh. So much about the thorn. What brought about thorns anyway? Thinking about how a thorn came about. A thorn came about because of rebelling. That's exactly how a thorn came. God took Adam, God took man, put him into the Garden of Eden. He didn't have to pay no rent. He didn't have to pay no light bill. Oh, bro, Adam had it made. He had the music, the birds singing in the treetops. He had the fish jumping in the ocean and in the sea for his entertainment. He had the rocks for his furniture. He had the green grass for his carpet. He had the trees for his shade. He had everything he needed. Didn't need no insurance. Didn't need nothing. All God told a man to do was just live and enjoy and walk with me in the cool of the day. And that's one thing I don't want you, Adam or Eve, is to mess with a certain tree and eat that fruit. And most time when I got a whipping from my mother, it was about the things she told us not to mess with. Isn't that amazing? Always got a whipping messing with that lamp. And she told me stop playing around that lamp. And one day I was playing around that lamp and fell and broke. And the other part of me, she broke. Let me tell you something. And if she hadn't said nothing about that lamp, I probably would have never been paying any attention to it. The very thing God told Adam not to touch and mess with, well, he didn't say you could touch it, but just don't eat it. Because the devil lied and said you wasn't supposed to touch it. God didn't say you couldn't touch it. He said don't eat it. See how the devil screw things and turn things all around. And when God told Adam not to be disobedient, but to just obey my word, they ate the forbidden fruit. And as a result of eating the fruit in disobedience, God cursed the ground. And when God cursed the ground, that punishment, all the thorns and thickets began to grow up. Before that, Adam didn't have to worry about no thorns. But after he disobeyed God, that's when God decided to curse the ground, because God made man from the ground. And so he says, since you came from the ground into the earth, when you die, you're going back to that. He cursed the ground. There were no wild creatures then. In those days, the lion and the lamb could lie down together. We didn't have to kill animals to eat meat. Man was a vegetarian. That's probably why he got tempted by a fruit. He was a vegetarian from the beginning. And the Bible said when he disobeyed God, thorns began to come up. What is so unique about a thorn anyway? Most of us don't like thorns. Most of us hate thorns because they stick us. They make us uncomfortable. It's a dwarf-looking creature. God cursed it to torment man. You don't ever go walking around barefooted around thorns, because they're going to stick and agitate us. Why the thorn? Well, the thorn, I need you to look a little deeper at that. What a thorn is a replica of. A thorn is a replica, actually, of man disobedient. Look, it was a bush, but it became thorny. Why? Because it wanted to have its own way. A thorn is turned into some dwarf that I started out being one way, but I want to have my way. Now I ended up being a thorn. My God. And that's what make folks thorny. That's what make folks stick you. Trying to have your way. And this is what that thorn represents, man. So the animals got wild because when man disobeyed, he got wild. Man started killing each other, started destroying, and in battle, everything got wild when God cursed the ground. The animals started attacking one another, eating them for flesh. Everything gets wild when we don't obey God. Yes, that's why we got wild children. That's why we got wild home. And that's why we got the wild, wild west. My God, because when we disobey God, you just get wild. We living in a wild, crazy world, wild, crazy young folk, wild old folk, everything wild. But you know what? It came as a result of disobedience. And this old thorn says, I don't want this to be a nice bush. I want to stick somebody. I want to hurt somebody. And that's how you ended up with a thorn. But the difference in a leaf and a thorn is that a leaf is a blessing and a thorn is a curse. How about that? Somebody said the other day, because we got so many thorny people that like to stick each other, is that a thorn like just tormenting everybody else when it could have been a nice leaf. But now, wanting to have his way, disobeying God, I want to stick somebody. I think somebody said the other day, the trouble with so many of us who have this sticking attitude is that we like to stick one another, and you can't rise when you're in the ditch keeping a man down with you. Then the only way for somebody to help you out, help them out the ditch. But we got so much thorny attitudes that we like to stick one another. Have you ever been around some thorny people that just love to agitate you? Is there a lot of things in this world that agitates us? Some of us have to live with some thorny wives. Some of us have to live with some thorny husband. Some of us have to live with some troubled children. And sometimes you wonder, what in the world did I do to bring about this kind of trouble we have out of some of our children? You raised them right. You brought them to church. You taught them how to say their prayers. You were there for them all through, but they just turned out their way. Why? Wanting to have their way, and they got thorny on you. Some of us have to work on some thorny jobs. You go there looking for a good place to work, and now you got a thorny boss. All they do is agitate you. All they do is just ride you. All they do is try to do things to upset you. And you start saying, Lord, why do I have this thorny life? Some of us have to live with thorny kinfolk. Amen. In-laws that become outlaws. And how many times you wonder, how come I can't get along with my own people? But that's because you got a thorn in the house. Some of us got, I don't have to get on this long, guys. I know I got some thorny members. I don't care what you do. You just can't please them. I don't care how good you preach, preacher. You either preach too short, and they'll say you didn't study, so I don't want no sermonette. And then when you give them a good, nice, long sermon, they say he puts me to sleep too long. You just don't know what to do because they're thorny. It was just like a lady who loved to just talk up against everything people do. So one time there was a man. He was going down the street, and he had an old mule, and he was on that mule. And she looked out and saw that mule. She said, now, isn't it a shame? Big old self on that poor little old mule when he should just not be on that poor little old mule. That mule is struggling. So the man said, well, I think I'll stop her from talking. This time he took the mule home. And then he decided to walk to where he was going. She saw him walking. Then she looked at him and said, now, ain't that a shame? He out here walking and got a mule. Well, they said, well, God, I can't stop it now from that. Then he went back and decided that he would bring his son and put his son on the mule, and he just walked with the mule. So when she looked out and saw the boy on the mule, she said, now, isn't that a shame? Here he is, got that kid on a mule, and he old and walking. God. And then he decided, well, both of them will get on the mule. When she saw them both on the mule, she said, now, isn't that a shame? Both of them sitting up there on that poor little old mule. Then he decided to leave home and walked on by himself. And she said, now, isn't that a shame? I him walking and left the mule at home. And God, some folk you can't please. They're always aggravated. They'll find something wrong with whatever you do. That's a thorn, like to stick you all the time. But look at that. The leaf did not stick. You ought to have a leafly attitude. Because look at how good the trees and the leaf is over a thorn. The leaves suck in all the carbon dioxide that we have in our body. When I got ready to build this church, I noticed that the arborist got on my case about trees. And I was saying to myself, why did I need all these trees around here in the back? She said, because trees are healthy for us. Oh, I didn't have no money to fool with no trees, and they started to shut me down. But you know what? But since I didn't have any money for it, all of a sudden the trees on the bank started growing up. And I looked around and said, my God, look at all these pine trees. And now they're back there, and I wish I could cut them down. So she came back and said, I see, Mr. Flemming, you put the trees. I said, God gave me trees. You know what? We don't realize. Have you noticed, I've been in certain countries, especially like people in China talking about, with so many people there, they didn't plant enough trees. Now people are getting sick. Because trees and leaves help pull in poison. If I took everybody in here and put them in this building, and I decide not to let no air in here, and just close up every day, every building, every window, and don't let no air in, and all us in here, you know we'd die. Because the carbon dioxide is like being in a car with the motor running, can kill you. That same carbon dioxide that we breathe out of us is poison. Did you know that? And that's why they make you plant trees on the interstate, because so much carbon dioxide coming from gas from the cars, producing all that, they won't let you bother those trees because the trees help pull in poison. And when the trees suck that into their leaves, and you know what that does? It takes that carbon dioxide and turn it into a starch, and they take that, and the trees give us pure, clean air. That's why people with tuberculosis, they take them out and sit them around trees, because the trees suck in the poison, and it throws back out fresh air. Did you know that? That's why the arborists are so on us about keeping trees in our country. They preserve us. If there were no trees, you would see how hard it is to breathe. If there were no trees, you would see how difficult it is in life. So a leaf takes something bad and give out something good. And that's why. But what does a thorn do? What does a thorn do for us? Thorn, it doesn't do nothing but stick. A leaf can take out what's bad and give you something good, but a thorn doesn't give you nothing. It just goes around and stick people, because that's his job, is to stick you. Now the Bible tells us, why the thorn? I think I read a book on Dr. Luke Allison said, he preached a sermon years ago when I was a kid, why the thorn? Why the thorn? Because if you notice, God gave Israel a thorn in their flesh. It talks about it in Judges. God said, I want you to go to the promised land. I will keep my word. I will bless you as I promised your forefathers. Don't mix and mingle with these unbelievers. I don't want you around them, because they worship idol gods. If it's anything, my friend, that God hates, he hates idol worshiping. If it's anything that really gets under the skin of God, so to speak, is that when we turn from him and start worshiping idols. And God said, because of you, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if you obey me and don't mix with these people and start worshiping these gods with them, I will bless you. But because they did not obey God, because they got out there and started mixing and mangling with the enemy, God said, I'm going to give you a thorn in your flesh. I'm not going to take away the thorn. I'm going to make sure you keep the thorn because you disobeyed me. Why the thorn? The thorn was put up on Jesus' head. They put a crown of thorns on his head. And Dr. Luke Allison said, because of the thorn, it brought us salvation. And because of that thorn Jesus had on his head, it was a replica of what God went through to save us. Why the thorn? I'm trying to tell you today that a lot of us have thorns and a lot of us have all kind of problems. But Paul said, I got a thorn in my flesh. Why? Why would God want to agitate us? Why would God want to upset us? Because there's so many things we get a blessing from when God decides to give us a thorn. Now, I want you to notice one thing. The Bible said when Paul went up into the heavens, into the third heaven, the heavens above the heaven, the heavens above the angels, the heavens above where God's throne is, he saw things that he cannot explain. Sometimes we'll see things we cannot explain. I want to say this before I get too far in this. Paul had a thorn in his flesh. And there were many people have been trying to describe why and what was Paul's thorn. Nobody really knows. Some skeptics have said Paul's thorn in his flesh was a sexual desire. That perhaps Paul had some weakness, that he was probably had a urge for some sexual desire. But there's nothing in the Bible to support that. And all of us know from Paul's letters that he never ever thought about he had some sexual desire, that was his weakness. Then some people have said Paul had a thorn. He was talking about he had eye trouble, because he states sometime in Galatians, I wish I could pluck out the eyes and give them to me. He also said, look which large letters I write in, because he had a hard time trying to see. And they felt that was his thorn in his flesh. Then others have out there said, well, Paul's thorn in his flesh was that he always had enemies and persecution, and that he was going through so much. Well, Paul was never worried about people who didn't like him, and he was never worried about people who resented him. He preached to all of them. He spoke the word to them, and he never feared nobody. Anybody get whipped with many stripes, beaten and on shipwrecks like Paul, certainly wasn't worried about his enemies. Then somebody said, well, Paul probably had a high blood pressure, or he was on ship and he caught some virus which tormented him night and day. And he had huge, terrible headaches, and that it would get like hot fire at times. And he was very uncomfortable. And that was his thorn in his flesh. But you know what? The Bible doesn't tell us what that thorn was. Neither does God tell us what it is. So why? Because it's none of your business. It's none of your business. But you know why? Because so many of us are so busy looking at other folks' thorns, we don't pay attention to ours. So many of us are so busy talking about other folks' weakness, and we don't talk about ours. So many people love to sit around and gossip on what you do wrong and what you did wrong, but you got some wrong in your life. And if you're going to talk about other folk, tell your story. So you know what? Tell somebody, shut up. You need to shut up. Everybody says shut up. Quit talking about people, because everybody got a thorn. A lot of us always talking about what other folk do, and then a lot of us love to talk about what we don't do, but we don't talk about what we do. You got some kind of problem. You have something to pray over. You got something going on in your life. Amen. Someone say, I don't smoke and I don't chew and I don't run with those that do. Then what do you do? I know that's bad grammar, but good preacher. Hallelujah. You doing something. You got something if it ain't nothing but running your big mouth. There's something going on in your life. And when we go around talk about other folk got bad children, and then you got one in your house stealing and doing everything else. You can't control what your children want to do. You can't control what they want to be. That's your thorn. Are you carrying something? And the Bible said God put it on him. It said it was given to me. He said, I didn't ask for this thorn. It was given to me. Wow. God gave him the thorn. After he went on up to the third heaven, maybe God put a thorn on Paul in his flesh because he went so high that everybody can't handle height. Hallelujah. When some people get to going up high, they get so egotistical, they got to start going up in other areas where they never been, and they like to look down on everybody else and talk about how they look. Amen? Just like 6 and 9. Amen. And I'm sure you know the story. You know, 9 was talking about 6, and 9 was saying, 6, look at you. You all down with your head in the mud. See, you ought to be up like me, 9 said. You just way down there. 6 said, you ain't nothing but another 6 turned upside down. Well, I'm telling you right now, though you got your head up, you still a 6. Look, my friend, God has a way of putting these thorns because sometimes he has to deal with us when we go high. So there come a time you got to learn how to go high and yet be low. I often tell all young preachers, be a lion in the pulpit and a lamb on the floor. Don't get so high that people can't reach you. God will give you a thorn. Don't get so above everybody because you're riding in a nice Mercedes. You'll soon be crying, mercy, these bills killing me. Don't get so high that you start talking about, look at those people. Look at those people. And you look around and you got some problems that the people don't know about. You just been hiding your thorn, but you got a thorn. And God said he went so high, I got to do something to Paul to make sure he doesn't get no higher than I want him to be. Oh, God, listen to old Flemming today. He went so high that he saw things. I don't know what Paul saw. Maybe he saw the pearly gates. Maybe he walked the streets of gold and he saw all of these things, and he probably saw things God has for us that we can't imagine what it's going to be like when we get to heaven. He saw something he couldn't describe. He didn't have enough adjectives to describe what he saw. Paul said it was so awesome. I can't find words to tell you what heaven looked like. That's just what God got for us. And heaven is going to be worth it all. If Paul said he saw something, he couldn't find words to describe what it looked like, what about the pain we go through? It's going to be worth it. So bear your cross, bear your thorn. Let them hurt you. Let it stick you. There's going to be something good coming out of it. So when he went up high, the next reason why God gave him that thorn, because he didn't want him to get so full of pride. Can you imagine how Paul would have been walking around? I went to heaven and you didn't. I saw the pearly gates on the grove. And then you're going, you did? Yes, I did. And you be walking around like these pseudo saints. I got the Holy Ghost. I can speak in tongue and you can't. And that's all you got. My God, how many times I tell you, speaking in tongue and lying in English. My God, speaking in tongue is not for you to go around and boast about. What are you doing with it? I've been kind of watching the thing that everybody wants you to get so in the anointing, but what you going to do with it? When God give you this gift, what you do, you don't sit down on a gift. That's why some people don't have nothing. They're sitting down on a gift. You're supposed to be strong enough with these special gifts to witness. The Bible said Jesus came down on the day of Pentecost so they could be witnesses. And all these folk got these gifts and not doing nothing. We said we the light of the world and light hanging around light. And you cannot see with a flashlight in the daylight. God help me, Holy Ghost. If you want somebody to see your light, you got to go out in the dark. But Christians running from sin, running from evil people, running from people that need it. We knock on doors of people we think that's friendly. We don't go down there on the corner where the real darkness is. See, the Holy Ghost is there to give you boldness. How in the world are you going to have the gift of speaking in tongues and won't speak to each other? How in the world are you going to have all this anointing and don't even pay your tithe and trust God? How are you going to have all this anointing and don't come to church? Because God didn't give it to us to sit in here with it. Take it out into the street. Tell somebody about God. That's what it's all about. And sometimes we get so full of pride. How many times I told you the worst words got a I in the middle? That little old word I is in the middle of the word pride. That little old word I, that little letter I is in the middle of the word sin. That little letter I is in the middle of the word lie. And you got to watch it when you get full of pride. That's why God put a thorn on Paul, because he wanted to keep him down on a lower level. Don't get so arrogant that I have blessed you to walk some places where nobody's walked. So he gave him a thorn in his flesh. Sometimes God will, you notice this, he said, and also Satan brought it to him. Are you all getting this? The devil brought this thorn on Paul. Wow. And he had to stand with a thorn in his flesh. The devil brought it. Why in the world it says, and Satan brought this thorn? Because the devil is your adversary. He's your accuser. I think one of the reasons why God allowed the devil to do it, because God can afford to let evil be in this world. Why does God let thorns come? Why? He can afford it. God can afford to let the devil do anything to you he wish. You know why? Because God can handle the devil. The world belongs to God. The earth, everything belongs to God. He made it, he redeemed it, he saved it, and God knows what it, and he made the devil. You need to understand why God used the devil. God used the devil because he made him. And he know how to control him. He gave him the mind to think. He gave him the tongue to talk. He gave him the power that he has. And you know, and one thing I need to say, the devil is stupid. He thought when God gave him power that God mistakenly gave him all of it. And I don't care what you give people, don't give them all of it. I don't care how much money you lend folk, don't give them all of it, baby. You may not get any of it back. I don't care how many people you let in your house, don't give them no key. Y'all ain't saying nothing this morning. Well, let me tell you something. You get that joker a key, you come back in there. Y'all love me shit off of that. Hey, look, come by and visit, but don't let that smooth daddy talk you into a key. He'll give you his key so he can get your key and come in your house, oh Lord, and take everything you got. Don't have no business in my house. I just invited you over here. God said, I gave the devil power, but the devil thought God gave him all of it. And what if God had mistakenly trusted the devil and gave him all this power? He would have turned on God and threw God out of heaven. So whatever you give Pope, hold something back. And you know, God knew the devil and he knew what he would do. And the devil can be used by God because God can afford it. God can afford. Why would God let so much evil be in the world? Why would God even put up with the devil anyway? Because the devil, if we didn't have the devil at us, we wouldn't be talking about running to God. Let's be honest about it. Because the devil is at us, we don't take the devil seriously. God wants you to know he's evil. You know what? We so into the devil. We eat devil food. We eat devil eyes, devil eggs. That's what I meant to say. Not devil. The river don't know what to cook. Devil cake and devil, eggs. We take the devil, we think he's some little old red creature with pitfalk and got eyes, or red eyes or green eyes, and got horns, and we think that's the devil. No. That's not the devil. He comes as an angel of light. He looked like a fine mama jabber. He looked like a big old robust brother. Hey, you better be careful. Watch, he comes as an angel. He comes smiling. What's that, baby? You need to tell him nothing up and go on somewhere. God, let me tell you something. That devil knows how to break up a home. That joker knows how to get you fired off a job. And if the saints are not wise and can't see how he tricked Adam and how he tricked so many people, he will bring you down. God can afford to use it. God let evil do all it's going to do, but when he got ready, he got rid of it. The devil knows he's on a time limit. The devil knows that. God not worried about the devil because his time is coming. When God gets ready to get rid of the devil, that's when God will move the devil. But he permits things to happen. Why in the world? People ask me. I had a friend of mine who was Jewish, and he told me though he was Jewish and he respected the custom, he was not a believer in God. And I asked him, why you don't believe in God? He said, I can't get over what God permitted Hitler to do to my people. 6 million of my people were murdered. And where was God? I got quiet. I said, he moved. He said, when? When he got rid of Hitler. But I tell you, when Hitler finally, he committed suicide, God has a time set when he will get rid of. Hitler thought he got into all the Jews, and he didn't get them all. They're still here. But God will allow the devil to do something to let you know it's evil and to let you know it's a devil, but God can conquer him. Though Nebuchadnezzar thought he was mighty, he ended up eating grass like an ox. Though Belshazzar had a party, he ended up being slain that night with a handwriting on the wall. I don't care. Though Herod thought he was big stuff, the Bible said the worms got him and ate him up alive. I don't care how many times the enemy is after trying to destroy you. When God get ready to get rid of that devil, he will move in his own time. But the devil keeps us on our knees. The devil keeps us praying. So God can afford evil to reign. Everybody thought George Wallace was going to turn around and do so much to black folk and ended up in a wheelchair serving and praying for them. When God get ready, out of all the slavery and injustice they had done to us, God raised up an Abraham Lincoln. When God get ready to do some things, he'll let the devil know. I can put him in his place, so God can afford to let evil reign because God has it all in his hands. Somebody say, praise the Lord. God can also let you have a thorn in your flesh because God can use it. God can use it. Listen, friend, I preach my best sermon when I go through things. I think there was a great preacher, I don't know if it's Dr. F.B. Meyer or somebody, Charles Hardy Spurgeon, one of the greatest preachers ever walked. He had the great Church of London, England, and this Dr. Murray, I believe I'm saying it right, he got jealous of Hardy Spurgeon because he drew 6,000 people, and everybody passed by his church going to the great metropolitan church. And he decided to think about it. Because of so many folk going to Spurgeon church, a lot of folks started attending his. He didn't know that. God was using it. Look, people got on there and couldn't get in Spurgeon church, so I think we'll go over to Dr. Myers' church. And some folks started noticing his little church, passing, going there. See how God can use things to bless you, then you think is out to hurt you? People never notice his church until they start going to Spurgeon's church. Am I right? I know there was another great preacher. They asked him a time, what made you so great? Are you ready for this? What made you such a great preacher? He said, do you really want to know? They said, yes. He said, my wife is a hell raiser. What? A hell raiser? Yes. That's what made me a great preacher. She made me preach. God. And this is true because he said that thorn in his flesh made him the preacher that he is. God can use a thorn. Listen, my friend, if it had not been for some things that go wrong in your life, you would have never been discovered. I'm thinking about one of my deacons right now, Curtis Lovejoy. If he had not been crippled, if he had not had that wreck, he wouldn't have been known all over the world and broke world records, lost his legs but kept his arms. God made his sickness his blessing. Sometimes God can take what's hurting you and use it. Oh, God, if there had not been a boycott, I'm telling you, in Birmingham, we would have never known no Martin Luther King. Beethoven was deaf, but because of his death, in spite of it, it didn't stop him. He wrote his Ninth Symphony. John Bunyan wrote Pilgrim Progress while in jail. If he had not been in jail, we wouldn't know nothing about Pilgrim Progress. I'm trying to tell you right now, so if we had not had slavery, we wouldn't know no Abraham Lincoln. If you had not had some setback, you wouldn't have no comeback experience. If God had not allowed some things to go wrong in your life, Joe Louis, if he had not gotten beat by Maximilian, he would have never known that he could defeat that great German. Sometimes God will let things happen to make you bigger. Sometimes God would bring you through some things to expose you more. Some of the people that I know are very famous today because there was a disaster, a tragedy in their lives brought about. So sometimes when God take you higher, it's because he has used a thorn. That thorn made you get serious. That thorn made you say, I'm going to do something better with my life. That thorn made you who you are, or nobody would know you. My God, if I hadn't been preaching hard in that little country church, my first little church in Pinehurst, Georgia, I wouldn't be the pastor, the eminent pastor of the Mount Carmel Baptist Church. I was down there preaching hard in that little church, a little 19-year-old pastor, and a lady came home for homecoming day. I didn't like it. I said, Lord, look like you can get me in something better. But I preached in that little old black robe. You all think I'm preaching now. You should have heard me then. I didn't preach no more than about 20 minutes. I knew you all were like that. Oh, but I could turn a place upside down. My voice was still strong. I didn't need no mic. And I was down there and I could roll back on the floor. I'm telling you, in those days, I got here through Atlanta preaching. And this lady came down just for homecoming, Reverend J.R. McCrary's wife. She came home for homecoming and heard this little old 19-year-old pastor preaching his heart out. Came back home and told her husband, it's a little young boy down here at home. You need to bring him up here to Atlanta and let somebody hear him. You're going to love him, baby. And he didn't know me, so he told me to come at 7:45 service. So if I mess up, he wouldn't have to see me for 11 o'clock. But when I got through preaching at 8 o'clock that morning, he said, stay and preach at 11 o'clock. And then when I got through preaching at 11, he said, the members just came to me, don't want you to go back home to Macon. They want you to preach 2 more nights. I preached 2 nights, Monday and Tuesday. They said, no, bring him back Wednesday. I preached Wednesday night. Then they came back and did the most ridiculous thing. We want you to preach the rest of the week. And then I preached till Friday, went on back to Macon. And then there was a church in Kirkwood, Faith Tabernacle Baptist Church, said, who is that little young boy who was up here preaching for you? We couldn't get over him. His name is Timothy Flemming. And then he called me and says, a church over in, I didn't know nothing about it. Faith Tabernacle doesn't have a pastor. He said, will you come up and preach? They want you to come. I came there and preached for them that morning. This is ridiculous, crazy. They told me to go down in the basement, never see me, never heard me. When I finished, the deacon said, go down in the basement, went down there, and the next thing I know, in about 40 minutes, they came back and said, the church has met and voted for you to be their pastor. I said, you all don't even know me, and I don't know you. Said, we don't care. Will you accept? I said, well, I guess I will. I went on back and became the pastor of Faith Tabernacle. Now, that put me in Atlanta. Already had a church in Macon. Didn't want to leave Zion Hill. I loved that church. And I didn't want to leave it. So they said, well, come preach for us in the morning. And Zion Hill changed the service at 3 o'clock. Didn't want me to go. So I preach here, 11 o'clock, rush out the door around 1, trying to make it. Sometime I was 30 and 40 minutes late, and they were still there waiting. Now preaching at Faith Tabernacle, never heard of no Mount Carmel. Didn't know nothing about Atlanta. Didn't want to come to Atlanta. Never heard of no Old Seawood. And then I looked up one Sunday morning, and I saw some strange folks sitting in my congregation. And I asked my deacon, who are those folks? He said, that's them old folk from Mount Carmel over here trying to steal our pastor. I said, well, I don't know about that. I preached and went on home to make it. I know when I got through preaching, they sure shot out of there. They got out of there in a hurry. Then I get this call from the chairman of the deacon board at Mount Carmel. We are vacant. Our pastor died 6 months ago, and we never been without a pastor. Will you come preach? We can't promise you nothing. We just want you to come. I said, well, I'll come, but I can't come back no more. They said, just one time. I came there in 1975, preached on a Sunday morning. It's on YouTube. Power from on high. They never heard me. I never seen them. I got lost trying to get there. After I preached and went back to my church in Macon, I get a call 2 or 3 weeks later. The church had voted that you would be the pastor of Mount Carmel. And he called me, the deacons. I tried to play big. He said, we have called you at Mount Carmel. I said, really? I got a church in Atlanta, Faith Tabernacle in Decatur. They said, we know that, but will you accept? I tried to play big. I said, oh, I'll pray over it. I'll think about it. I hung up the phone, and my wife said, who was that? I said, that's the church in Mount Carmel, great big church there. And she said, well, what's going on? I said, well, they called me to pastor this church. And she said, well, what you going to do? I told her, I said, I want you to go upstairs. She said, go upstairs for what? Go to packet. When I played so big, like I think about it, when that deacon hung up that phone, I said, whoa! God Almighty, let me tell you something. And I walked right in this church in March, in April. And here I am, been here 45 years. Let me tell you, through that little church, down in Pinehurst, what led me here is because God said, if you can take hard time, I got a time set. You don't have no idea where I'm going to take you. So don't curse out your bad days, because sometime God will allow you to have bad days because he's finna promote you to good days. God can use trouble. God can use adversity. That's how God can move you to another level. A thorn makes you... Let me get to this point before I be all the time here. The Bible said, Paul, look, he went to God 3 times and asked God to take away that thorn. And God wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. Have you prayed to God, God, if you just move this thing out my life, I'll be better? Have you ever said, Lord, if you just take this old crazy husband, men got quiet now. I sure would be a better wife. And some if you take this old crazy wife out my life, and God sent that person there, and you said, I would be better. Who said you'd be better? No, you get all walking around with your little arrogant self. And God said, no, I'm going to slap that person on there and keep you praying. I'm going to slap that thorn on you and make you preach. I'm going to slap that thorn on you and make you sing. I'm going to slap that thorn on you and make something come out of you you didn't know you had. I'm going to slap that thing on you and keep you praying. You know why? Paul said he prayed and asked God, and God wouldn't move it, because God sometimes give us thorns to make us pray a prayer instead of saying prayers. Yes, sir. Amen. Because see, sometimes when we're doing good, we just say prayers. Our Lord lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to take. Hey, you know how I forgot how good. You know, you remember, we pray these little children's prayer. But baby, when you get behind on your rent, when you get behind on your bills, and you don't have no food on your table, you don't say no prayers. You pray prayers. Hey, you get sick, Lord, it's not my mother, it's not my father, it's not my sister, it's not my brother, but it's me, God. God, why you put this on me? God, well, you wouldn't be in church right now if you hadn't. You're right here joyriding. Amen. On E. Let me tell you something. Hey, you know what? God will let you be on E to come to church when you catch enough hell. God sometime will allow these thorns to come in our life to teach us how to pray. Yes, pray, 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 pray. Not just saying prayers, praying prayers. You can say your prayers when you guys got food on your table, but when you don't have no food, you're going to pray a prayer. You can say your prayers when you just got a nice little job, but when you don't have no job, you'll pray a prayer. You can say your prayers when you're trying to impress folk how good you can pray, but when trouble hits your house, you'll pray a prayer. God will let you learn the difference and pray a prayer, not saying a prayer. And that's why when you get down and pray, you know, when you got your little arrogance, you pray with one knee up like men do. Yeah, put that camera on me, baby. Boy, young man, put all that. Get my pastor on his knees. See, that's where men like to pray on the chair. Yes, Lord, thank you for waking me up. And last night was not my cooling board. Oh, boy. There you can pray. And everybody say, oh, that deacon can pray. Look at him pray. But, baby, when you don't have no money and when your bills are due and you don't have no food and you don't know what you're going to do, you get all this. Both knees. See, when you got one knee up, that means halfway. Give God half of it. But when things get bad, even though you got bad knees, you get out on these bad knees and you put your hand out and say, heal it, God, because I got to get down on my knees. And sometimes stuff will get so heavy on you, you get all down here. And God got you now, all down on the floor. And you get so heavy, sometimes you got to roll all night long. Can't sleep, rolling, rolling, rolling. Help me, God. Break me out. Break me out. I tell you, when you get down on your knees, God said, I'm finna promote you. I'm finna bless you. I got your attention now. Thank God you can pray a prayer. Baby, you'll mess up your suit. Mess up your clothes when things get bad enough. That's why God gave him the thorn in his flesh. I want to tell you something. Some of you are going through so much, and you wonder why you're going through so much. You know why? You're special. You are anointed. And God let Job go through so much. I want you to get this. I'm about ready to roll out, bro. God let Job go through. I just hit me by why God let the devil mess with Job and stick him so much. Some of the greatest words fell from the lips of Job ever been written because he was sick and had a thorn. But here's the thing that I thought about. God permitted him to go through these things to shut the devil's mouth. Watch this. When God permitted Job to suffer, I want you to notice something about what the devil said. The devil said the only reason why he's worshiping you like he's worshiping you, play Bradley, is that you've been good to him. And I think God said, So you think the reason Job worshiped me, I blessed him. So God said, this is what I'm going to do. Try him out. Test him. Let me tell you what happened. And this hit me. Why the devil didn't want to give Job credit for being a good man and spoke against Job? Because the devil wanted to show God there is no such, you got to get this, there is no such thing as goodness in a man, because God said it's good. And he wanted to slap God in the face, though he's good, nothing God made him good, but here it is. Since ain't nothing good, and good not the best way, he wanted to justify himself for being evil. Take that and hang that on the lines of faith and let the Holy Ghost blow on it. See, when some people want to justify for being the way they are, they want to make sure you can't be no better. And he wanted to say, no such thing as no goodness in no man, so quit bragging on it. Then that'll justify him for being the devil, being evil. Give me some preaching music right now. That's it. God wants to use you in your adversity. And he's doing it. You may not see it. You may say, I don't see how God getting nothing out of me suffering what I'm going through. And God up in heaven saying, look, Satan, you thought you could get everybody to curse me. But this one now, they're blessing me. God is saying, you think everybody like you. You know, some people think everybody like them because they're the way they are. But everybody not like you. And everybody don't give up like you do. And everybody don't cuss out God and leave the church when things go wrong. And everybody don't leave that church because some few folk getting mad trying to destroy it. Some folk don't follow people. And I think this is one reason why God is allowing the Christians and this world to be going through this pandemic now. Because God is showing us you're not the boss. Brag about how powerful you are. Brag about you the strongest nation in the world. Brag about you don't need God. Took prayer out of school. God said, I'll put you on your knees. I'll put you in a situation your bums can't do it. I'll put you in a situation the doctors can't do it. I'll put you in a situation nobody can get you out of it till I get ready. God said, I'll just do it. I'll do it because I want to let you know I'm running this world. God put that thorn in Paul's flesh, and Paul didn't run from it. He preached. He preached all the way, all over the Judean area. And because Paul had a thorn in his flesh, he went to God and said, God, take it away. God said, I'm not going to move it, but here's where I get happy. He said, I'm not going to take away your enemy. I'm not going to get you out this mess. I'm not going to break people love you. I'm not going to make things comfortable like you are at home. I'm not going to make every member love you. But my grace is sufficient. My grace is sufficient. Paul, I'm not going to take it away, but I'm going to hold you in it. I'm going to keep you in it. I'm going to sustain you in it. My grace is sufficient. Though you're going through something, stand. Hold on. The grace of God is there. Grace will make you walk right. Grace will make you talk right. Grace will make you live right. Grace will give you power. Power in the morning. Power at noonday. Power in the midnight hour. God is sustaining you. God is keeping you. The devil has not won. Though you're giving you a hard time, you're standing. You're still standing. The doctor gave up on you, but God's grace is keeping you. You may still have some problems. He won't move it, but he said, my grace is sufficient. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound that it saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Grace woke me up. Grace keeping me up. Grace is holding you. Grace is opening doors for you. Grace. Look at somebody and say, I know how I'm making it. I know how I'm making it. I know how I can take it. Grace did it. Grace is doing it. Grace is holding you. Have you noticed everything you go through, you keep getting blessed? Have you noticed all the attacks against you, you still standing? Have you noticed all the pain your body's in, you still living? Have you noticed everything that's come against you, you're still around? Grace is sufficient. You still got a habit, but God is holding you in it. You still got some problems, but God is holding you in it. Grace is sufficient. Listen, God's not going to move it. How many times you said, Lord, if you just could move this, I'd be a better person. If you could just get me out of this, I'll serve you more. No, you won't. You will glorify in your accomplishment and not give God the glory. You get caught up in your success and forget God. I got the answer now. I got the answer to how to survive. It's not about what God take off you. It's what God keep you while you're in. Because when you bear what you bear, you're showing God's power doing it, not your power. And somebody asks you, how you doing? Tell them I'm blessed and I'm highly favored. I didn't accomplish nothing. I didn't wake myself up this morning. God did it. How you making it on a small paycheck and don't make enough? God did it. How you survive and still got a roof over your head with the little income you got? God grace. God want to show you that he's so powerful, he doesn't have to get you out. He can strengthen you in it. And he get the glory. If God moved everything away from us that we wanted to move, or you want to get this, you probably wouldn't have what you have. If God gave you what you want, you probably wouldn't accomplish what you have. And I know it's hard and you want to know why God lets you suffer. Suffering, God wants to show you I can feed you in the presence of your enemy, not in the absence. God wants to show his power in your infirmity. And people be wondering, why, man, I thought she's supposed to have been dead. My God, I thought by now they'd have been finished. They don't know God is allowing that thing to happen so people can look at you in wonderment. And look at, you mean they still here? You mean you still working? You mean they didn't repossess your house? And you start saying, I don't know how I didn't go under. And I'm wondering myself. Look at somebody say, I've surprised myself. And here's the answer. Just tell them it's a God somewhere. God wasn't through with me. And it's not what man said. When God got ready for Paul, he let him take him on. But not until God was through with it, and he wrote over half the New Testament. If Paul had not had that thorn, he wouldn't have been preaching like he preached. And I'm just pleading on somebody here this morning, stand up with your thorn in your flesh. Take it. You know why you all have to take it? You're young men. I've been where you all are. And when I was your age, I didn't know what I know now. You got to take it to make it. What makes a man a man? Sometimes a bad woman, but she'll make a man out you. You get a woman, give you hell, she'll make a man out you. You start praying then. Laugh at the preacher, I don't know what they talking about. Get a bad woman. The child laughing. You see, you get caught up thinking we so mighty. And God will let you hit rock bottom, and you won't be laughing at folk in church. That's right. When we were young, I used to laugh at mama shouting, and I thought all that was crazy. I used to get mad at my daddy because he and mama fell out. You ever felt that way? Daddy, why you carrying on? You know a boy gonna defend his mama. Until I got married. And so how women can be with a credit card. So when I got married and found out what real marriage is, marriage can be hell. But you know what? If God's in it, nothing gonna happen. He gonna bless you in it. Because you finna find out what real life is. And he put a man in your life that's not your dream husband. Because you'd had your dream husband, man, be somewhere riding up and down Campbell Road, passing by the church, holding hands. And God gave you just, isn't it amazing? God gave you the opposite of what you asked for.
Yes, sir. Yes, he does.
You know why? He know you. And he know how you will change on it if he gave you what you wanted. And you know what? He will lose you.
Yes, sir. You're right about it, sir. You're right about it. You're right. Teach us, sir. You're right about it, sir.
He give you just the opposite.
That's right. That's right.
You asked for a good job and they gave you a bad job. You asked for a great church preacher and he gave you a hell-raising church. Gonna make you preach. Amen. He know you. Look, God know how quick we'll change. We already, look, last year, everybody booming, the economy blowing up. You all hear me? You all hear me? Nobody going to church last year. Churches were empty. Everybody, oh God, economy booming. All down in the beach, just naked. Son, you don't even need no, talking about a tan. What you need for a tan? We already got a tan. And all out on the beach. And I'm down here saying, you all pay some money here so I run the church. Oh, Reverend, don't do my talk about money. Turn that thing off. Yeah. And churches were everywhere, attendance dropping.
That's right.
Folk weren't giving.
Yeah, that's right.
And then God hit us with a pandemic where you can't even go to the beach. You partied all last year, now you got to have social distance. You got to do all this now. Probably won't even give me a fist, social distance. Brother just step on the organ. I'm playing the organ. To the point. Now God's got our attention. And people now that said giving more at church now, online. I've been trying to get some of you all to go online. I don't know how to use that thing. You're doing it now. Come here, baby, show me how to. And tune. Oh yeah, I'm getting more members tuning in now. Talking about, and then somebody gonna tell me, let's go to the parking lot and have church. You weren't coming when the door was open. You see how we are when God bless us and God move the problem. Now folk all in the street, policemen, all policemen, all of them on their knees. Everybody on their knees in certain countries, all in front of the shopping mall.
Hold on. Yes. Hold on.
See? So God said, I can't trust you giving you too much. I'll give you a thorn. Or we get away from God. The devil loves seeing us blessed. Because every time God blessed Israel, what did they do? Turn from it. And God has to do things to draw us back. You know I'm right.
Yes, you are, sir. You're right about it, Pop.
And he's going to keep that thorn in your life and let you catch some trouble and come. You're going to have so much on your nerve talking about, I'm going crazy. No, you're not going crazy. You get some sense. You learning what life is. Life doesn't give you nothing. You don't just walk off a job now.
You're right. You're right about it.
You know how you were when everything good. I'm going to get me another job. You don't go walking off now, bro. Don't look. They don't pay me enough. They pay you enough now. You know how we are. They don't pay me enough. But now you're in a position where you're just glad to get what you can get. And don't go leaving no job right now. Don't get fooled out here. There's nothing out there. Shops closing down and places shut down. And you're going to run off? Get out there if you want to with your arrogant self. Talking about, I'm worth more than this. You better be thankful that somebody letting you work anywhere. Get out there if you want to. Because right now, all these businesses are laying off. Don't get fooled by them things. I come to work every day and pastor even more. I pastor harder. I don't even stay in the bed or lie around the house. I get up and run over here without hiring any other help. Because I'm going to have to bear this load and save the church some money. You know what I mean? Because I know it doesn't have to be like this. It could be worse.
Amen. Oh, you're right. You're right.
And you don't need to be lying up there, well, you all get somebody and see about. No, I'll be over there in a minute.
You're right about it.
I'm honored to have a job.
You're right about it, Papa. You're right.
So, preacher, you get up off your blessed assurance and go over there and see about your church and go home and study and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning like I do. God talks to you better early in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Shut down at 9 o'clock and go to work.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to open doors of the church. You know what? God, Gino will tell you, I told him what I was going to preach yesterday. Didn't I walk? And I told him early what I was going to preach this morning. And last night around 10 o'clock in my house, God said, change your sermon. I said, what do you know me? No, I want you to come back with stand before you close. I what? Stand with a thorn. I said, Lord, I wasn't ready. I hadn't studied this sermon. He said, well, that. I texted Gino late last night about 10:30 and said, the title has changed. And he didn't know it. He texted me again, what's your title? I said, did you get my text? He said, you sure? I said, yeah, that's the title. Standing with a thorn in the flesh. Standing with a weakness. Standing with a problem. And God won't move it. And Paul said, ask God 3 times. God said, I said, I won't take it. And some stuff you're not going to get away from. You can't pray your way out of it. You can't sing your way out of it. You can't figure your way out of it. And they can lay hands on you 1,000 times. You'll get right back up. Still got that desire.
Yes, sir.
God said, I want you to trust me in it. Bring it to me. I'm not going to move it. I'm going to hold you with my grace in it.
Yes, sir.
Good God, what a word. There may be somebody want to come as you are. As I said, it's an insult to God to say, I'll get myself right.
You're right.
Who are you to get yourself right?
That's right. That's right.
You have to come just as I am, just as you are, and say, well, Lord, this is a problem. If you can't fix it, nobody can. Just stay under the covering.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to find yourself staying in church getting better. Sometimes I believe God sent some folk here to work to get them in church. Because that's how you get in the word. And you ain't getting no word out there on those jobs. He'll put you somewhere to save you. May not make the money, but you don't get no word this morning. You keep looking at y'all, man, that you weren't going to get out there on these other jobs. And sometimes God is putting you where I want to get some word in you so you don't crack. So come as you are. Give it to God. I don't care about all these condemning preachers. All of them got a thorn. All us church folk got a thorn. All of us got some kind of problem. And we're no better than you. We just trust in God with it. Church is nothing but a hospital. And I want you to give yourself to Jesus right now. And let people talk about you. Look, you just trust God. Go to church anyhow, pray anyhow, ask God for guidance anyhow. Okay? There may be somebody right now saying, well, that preacher really made me feel like I'm somebody. I felt so worthless. I felt so condemned about what I do. I mean, what do I do? You come to God with it. And He's going to strengthen you in it. He don't always take stuff from you. He gives you strength to bear it. Will you accept? You can just hit like, and I'll know you're looking. You can say right now, I accept it, Pastor. I accept Jesus. I accept His blood. All you have to do is say, I accept it. We'll know it. Leave us some information. Say, I want to join the church. Call us on our 1-800 numbers and say it on the voicemail. My name is this, and I want to be a member of Reverend Flemming's ministry. I don't live in Atlanta, but I have several members have joined our church from other states online. You just let us know text us, or send us a message. You will get a message from me, an acceptance letter. I signed some last week that you are now a certified member of Mount Carmel Baptist Church. And you'll be getting a message from me very soon. Some I've already started trying to call some people, let them know, thank you, I'm happy to have you as our new member. And you can go online and give, as we all members do, and get credit as being a member. How about that? So since people can't come here, I still open the door to the church. I don't care if you're in another country. We still take you in. I want you saved. Saved in spite of your weakness. I'm the pastor of Mount Carmel Baptist Church. My name is Timothy Flemming, Sr. I thank you for tuning in. I'm out of time now. So I pray that you will bear your pain, bear your cross, and stand, stand, stand. God bless you. See you next week.